Hey guys, thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And I hope you enjoyed this interview. Mr. Victor Mba, the head Phillips Consulting here in Abuja. Hello, Victor, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Now, let's get started. Earlier on, I was saying we do not seem to have so much attention. I'm talking of citizens now. It's always Tinubu, 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 Tinubu. Of course, every president, that's what I mean, that is always being called. What your report has done, I've seen your report, I read it online. It's lengthy, actually,
Yeah.
about 261
261
pages.
pages, yeah.
You know. But let me come to this report. What is different about this report that you did? Because I think you started since 2018.
Yeah.
Why the attention on states, and what is different about this report?
Okay, so thank you very much for having me. Yeah, so the report actually starts with the statement that the magic of the federation happens in the states.
Yeah, I saw that when you wrote it in the map of Nigeria.
Exactly. So all of
But
this...
I disagreed with it a bit.
Why?
Because it's not happening. When you said, sorry to cut you short, because when I saw that, I said I was going to ask you about it, and thank you for bringing it up, that the magic of the federation happens in the state. And I'm saying if it does happen in the states, many of us will be in our states. Our states will be flourishing more than they are right now.
I agree with you, and that's part of the outcomes that we hope to get from the work that we're doing. You asked a question earlier, what's different about this report? Okay, in 2018, we did a similar report, but with that report, we focused mainly around secondary data, the GDP, the IGR, employment rate, literacy rate, and all of that. But with this report, what we've done is to incorporate a survey component of it. All of these beautiful things, beautiful numbers we have, okay, how does it translate to the people? How do they feel about it? What do they think about it? Are they satisfied with what is happening in their states? So we came up with this survey to complement the secondary data, and that is what is different about this report.
How many reports have you done since? Is this the second one?
Yeah, this is the second edition in the state series. But as a firm, we run a lot of perception surveys, from aviation to e-banking, you know, to talent management, the Jackpot syndrome, and so many other reports, all available on our website free of charge.
Do you think that our authorities read these reports? Because not just only you, there are a lot of organizations also that read these reports, you know, regularly. And it seems, I don't even know if our people, if our authorities really read this. You know, do they read it? Do they engage with people like, yes, because it's one thing to release a report and it's one thing for it not to just be on the shelf. So I hope you understand what I mean. It's not just about you guys, but it's also about other reports that come up. How many ministers, for example, will take this report? Okay, these states now. How many state governors have seen these reports now and sat down with it for like 2 or 3 days and take a look at, oh, Imo State, worst performer, I must say. I say, guys, what am I doing? And let's try as much as possible to do well in those areas.
Yeah, and to be fair, to be honest with our state governors, we've gotten calls from a lot of states.
Concerning this?
Yes, of course, yeah. So we've been engaging them, both those who performed well and those who seemingly did not perform well, and asking what's our methodology, how do we come up with this report, for them to really understand what we are doing. And we've been engaging them, and most of them have come to, you know, key into our methods. And also with the Governors Forum, also we also worked with the Governors Forum, to be able to reach out to these states, and they've helped us tremendously in reaching out to the state governments.
Okay, what are the 4 classes of indicators that you utilize to assess the performance of the states? We need to take a look at that.
Okay, yeah, so the first thing we did was looking at their performance from secondary data point of view, all their GDP and the rest of them. Then we also looked at performance from a survey point of view, because there are certain kind of indicators that you cannot really get from secondary data, like security, infrastructure. Those information exist, but they are not from very reliable sources. Then we looked at risk. What are some of these risks that are inherent in these states, and how are the states performing in terms of managing this risk? And finally, we look at the potential of the states. Of course, you cannot be comparing a state with Lagos, for instance, and Ebonyi State, except you contextualize it within the framework of their potentials and how people think about what the government is doing.
Now, let's take a look at the states. Let's categorize them according to your report. Which states are the high flyers according to the classes that you determined?
Okay, so Lagos State performed highest in terms of secondary data performance, and of course, they are the state with the highest potential. But when you come to the survey part of it, you see they were not actually one of the states that scored high. They came out 19th or so. But because they performed so well, their performance rose to about 4th position. But in number 1 position, we have Gombe State, then we have Jigawa, we have Ekiti, we have Lagos, and we have the FCT. And what's interesting is that people say, Gombe State?
That state is always coming out. I think in Saba, was it in Saba report to Gombe State? Is it Gombe or Jigawa? Between Gombe and Jigawa, if Jigawa is not one, the Gombe, I don't know what's happening with those two states.
Yeah.
But when I saw that, I was actually not too surprised anyway. Why Gombe, for example? Because I was taking a look at why you said,
Gombe?
Yes, why Gombe?
First of all, this is a state with, if you look at this report, you see their potential, they are in the 36th position in terms of potential. Performance, 30th position. So they way far outperformed their potential. Then when we spoke to the people in the state, they are very happy with what the state government is doing.
Who are those that you spoke with in the States? Are they business people, or are they just ordinary individuals, or are they a mix of individuals and business concerns?
It's a mix of businessmen, employed people, unemployed people, students, retired people. We've been running surveys for about 30 years, so we have a very robust database. So when we have these surveys, we deploy to our database and we get responses from our database. It applies to all our reports. Yeah, so those are the people we spoke to in Gombe State.
In your executive summary, of course, you said the top 5 performing states, Gombe, Jigawa, Ekiti, Lagos, while the bottom 5 performing states. Okay, let's talk about the top 5. We've talked about Gombe. Now, speak to me about Jigawa, Ekiti, Lagos. Then we'll go to the bottom 5.
Okay, so with Jigawa, Ekiti, Lagos, all of these states follow the same trend as Gombe State. Clearly, they outperformed their potential. If you look at all of them, you see their performance is way higher than their potential, and also they tend to manage people's perception better. So the government is actually doing what the people, want them to do. We see cases where we get calls from some states, for example, they say, why did we rank low? We have done this, we have done that, we've done this and that. I said, okay. We did not respond to your survey. We deployed that survey to people living in your state, and they gave us this feedback. So there's a disconnect kind of between what the government is doing and maybe what the people want, or how they perceive what the government is doing.
Or whether the people don't even know what the government is
Exactly,
also doing.
and that's part of what we have recommended, that government should look for a way to continue to engage people so that they know what the government is doing. And they also, get feedback from people in terms of what they plan to do. There's currently a survey we are running currently on subsidy, because we say, okay, of course the federal government said we are no longer subsidizing anything. Okay, but what about the states? What about the states? Can you subsidize food? Can you subsidize housing or rent? Can you subsidize people who are unemployed? Can you subsidize healthcare? And we are doing this state by state. So very soon we'll have the first report that will be out for Lagos State. Yes.
I wonder how you guys will do that, because if you're saying no subsidy, there's still subsidy. So I wonder how you and your guys will be able to balance that equation. Yeah. But I'm looking forward to it. Don't forget that when it comes out, you can just ring me and let me see what that report will be about. Now, let's talk about the bottom 5 performing states. You have Abia, Plateau, Imo. Which other states there? Zamfara, I think.
Zamfara and Nasarawa, yes.
Okay. Why are they bottom 5?
Okay, so the same logic applies with the first 5. If you look at these bottom 5, most of them performed below their potential. You look at a state like Imo State, for example, that ranked 7th in terms of their economic potential, but 31st in terms of performance.
That means it's not utilizing
its potential, exactly.
So what do you mean by potentials there? Because I made mention at the beginning of the program that I've come to dislike potential as a word in the country, because you get to say Nigeria is a country of potential. I don't tire for these potentials. When do we transform from potential to actual transformation? as it were. So what do you mean by potentials here?
Okay, for potential, we capture things like the land mass, of course. It's a very important factor of production. We captured population. We looked at mineral resources. We looked at crude oil itself. We looked at how many states do you bother with, because those are potential trade partners. So if I have a seaport, for example, that's a huge potential. If I have borders with 5, 6, 7 states, that's a huge potential. So those are some of the things that we captured as part of the potentials for the states. And we looked at things that we can easily, get data around, because there are other potentials, but, getting data here is not as easy as you would expect it to be. So that was what we did in terms of looking at potentials. And part of what we're doing with this report is, just like you have said, potential, endowment. When are we going to harness this so-called potential? And the only way we can do that is by, starting to, put data around some of these things. This report can serve like a baseline for progress. So if I'm a state, for instance, and I came out, for instance, 15th position this year, so okay, next year I come out 7th. That's a huge progress. Yes, and the interesting thing is that it's not just the state government giving out numbers, we have improved employment. The people would also have to make a contribution to that final index.
Okay. Can we take a look at regional performance?
Okay.
Southeast, South-South, Northwest, Northeast. I've mentioned 4 now.
Yes.
What are
North
the
Central.
North Central. And
Southwest.
And Southwest. So let's take a look. Which region? Let's take a look at your regional ranking.
The Southwest came out top.
Why is it coming out top? Is it because Lagos is also there and it's pushing?
No, sorry, the Northwest, not the Southwest.
Okay. Northwest, why?
Yeah, so most of the gains from the Northwest were around the survey. We're around people, because at the end of the day, the development is about people. So the people in this region were more satisfied following our survey.
Is it that they have more jobs? Is it that? So all of us should now start going to Northwest. That means there's something happening there. I should leave Abuja and go to a state in the Northwest. What exactly? Yes.
So you see, the Northwest, of course, that's where we have a state like Jigawa, for example. And just listening to the governor of Jigawa when we are at the economic summit, for example, there's something interesting he said. That in Jigawa, there's an office called Jigawa Invest, or Invest Jigawa, something like that. That's a one-stop shop for all investors. So you come to Jigawa, you don't need to bother about the bureaucracy of
they do everything there.
Just go there, they sort you out. You go to a state like Kaduna, for example, you see how the former government, of course, was able to organize the state in terms of all of the municipal areas as we have in the FCT. So just to ensure that development goes round some of these areas. So there's a lot of things happening in the Northwest. And back to the first logic I talked about, if you look at the potential of the Northwest, 7th position. But in terms of performance, potential 3rd, then performance 2nd. So they outperformed their potential. So that also, this Northwest we are talking about has no crude oil, which is like the mainstay of the Nigerian economy. Yes, and still they are able to do something, but especially managing people's perception. Yes. Managing
people's perception could be double-edged sword. Okay. That you are not doing anything, but you are talking propaganda. Or that you are doing something and people are seeing it. I hope you understand.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
So I don't know if you all got a sense of that. If part of your survey was also, okay, this thing is on ground, like Jigawa Invest, for example. This thing is on ground. People really take advantage of it and all of, or that the government is just telling us something. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say.
Of course I understand.
Because it could be 2 ways. That I'm not doing anything, but my voice is loud there, especially using media and all that I'm doing something. So people are thinking I'm really doing, when actually I'm not doing anything.
Anyway, we spoke to people who live in the States.
In the States.
Yes, who live in the States. And the kind of questions we asked were not questions that would...
not general questions?
Yes, very specific kind of questions that helped us to get this feedback from the people.
Okay. Yeah. How about Northeast? I'm particularly also curious to know about Northeast, especially with, you know, the remnants of terrorism and a whole lot of stuff also happening there, as
Yeah,
it were, in terms of, you understand what I mean, in terms of
exactly.
violence. How are they coming back from that? What's the regional ranking? That's it on the screen, actually, Northeast. So
Okay.
speak to me about that.
Okay, yeah. So you can see the Northeast, for example, fifth position in terms of performance and fifth in terms of potential. What the Northeast have done successfully is to, reduce the amount of insecurity in the Northeast. Before now, when you talk about Northeast, you just remember insecurity, Boko Haram and all of that thing around. But today, we have seen peace kind of return to that region. You see a state like Jigawa, Gombe State, it's in the Northeast. Yes, and they're performing so well. Even the Borno State that used to be like the hub of everything insecurity, today we see some level of normalcy have returned to Borno State.
Okay, about Southwest. I'm particularly curious that Southwest did not even come in terms of number one, in terms of regional ranking as a result of the push from Lagos. And Lagos has ports and all of that, like you mentioned earlier, in terms of border state. What are the
Okay.
economic endowments that states have that will really help them? So where does Southwest,
Southwest.
yes, rank?
Okay, so the Southwest, let's look at the Southwest ranking. Okay, you see, okay, the Southwest, fourth position in terms of performance, first in terms of potential, first in terms of performance, but the survey, when we surveyed people, and asked them, okay, what do you think about the performance of government in your area? We got poor responses from the Southwest. And maybe, like you have rightly said, it might be a situation where people are not aware of what the government is doing, or the government is not doing what the people want them to do. For instance, you can see a government, I'm not talking now about the Southwest, a government building like an airport, where people want you to build schools, or hospital, or give them jobs. Yeah, so these are some of the areas that our reports have pointed out to that, state governments should look at and see how they can, get people's feedback when they are proposing to do different types of intervention or projects.
Okay. So as we end this interview, I also saw in your reports the ratings and the descriptions that you gave: triple A, double A, single B,
Yes.
double B. That's is it very excellent, or excellent, very good
Yes.
performance, fair, and underperformance.
Yes.
Performance. Which states? Can you just give me the states, a few of the states that fell under this ranking?
Okay, so most states fell under the fair performance, as you can see from this adult on page. I can't really put this is 261-page report.
Reports.
Yes, so one of the states fell under the fair performance. You see a state like Kogi.
That's
so
B.
B, yes, exactly. Then the AAA, you have Gombe, we have Jigawa, AA, and Ekiti. Then Lagos, good performance. In terms of underperformance, we have Imo, we have Abia. But something interesting is also the outlook. For instance, Abia State. With what is happening in Abia State today, if we conduct a survey today,
It will change.
Yes, it will change. So it's not like, this is not like you shouldn't be looked at from a negative side, no. If you do a survey today in Abia State with what the government is doing today in Abia and what we can see from social media and other places, it will change.
Okay.
Something else I wanted to talk about. There were indicators that we looked at generally, and these indicators were drawn from the World Economic Forum report. 4 indicators that support development at the basic level. 1, investment in infrastructure. So as a state government, you are building infrastructure. What's the return on investment on that infrastructure that you put in place? Be it a road, an airport, a seaport, whatever it is. Then also human capital development, speaking about security, healthcare, and education. Then strengthening public institutions, very important. Most states we surveyed, we saw that this is an area that was lacking. You can see Edo State, for example, is a state that have invested so much in terms of strengthening public institutions. The whole civil service was digitized. Yeah, so that's a very good sign from it. Then finally, macroeconomic stability. So states should also support the federal government in terms of stabilizing the macro economy of the states.
That's a very good one. In terms of states should support the federal government concerning the macro, because
Yes.
the macro is actually so general. But when it comes to the macro, we're always looking at the federal government. Thank you very much, Victor, for joining us
Thank you very much for
today.
having me.
I've been speaking with Victor Mba, who is the head Phillips Consulting here in Abuja, and we've been looking at the State Performance Index as released by Phillips. Thank you for watching. In case this is your first time watching us, thank you. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, drop your comments as well as like, and most of all, share our content.